We are just about to finish with this section and we are doing it very good right now. It is the turn for the last scope, that is the readgeneral scope, and it is a very interesting scope in fact. Why? Because first, it is going to be applied on several actions on several controllers. And additionally, we have a special case that we are going to see with detail in a few minutes along this class. The readgeneral scope will allow to read, as the name says, general information from the API. For example, the products of a specific user or the transactions of a specific user, the categories where the user purchased something or sells something, and that kind of information. I have to clarify right here that, for example, the methods or the actions that returns a list of several users or a list of several products that are not directly related with a user are currently actions that are not going to be protected. Why? Because in the next section, we are going to protect these specific actions for admins. It means only the admins can see the full list of users, or only the admins can see the full list of transactions. Currently, we are not protecting using scopes these actions because we are going to implement a more restrictive security over that specific actions. For now, we are just going to protect basically the actions that allow to read information related with a specific user. So let's proceed. We are going to start with the buyer category controller. Here we only have the index method, so as you may imagine, we are just going to protect the index method. The scope that we are going to apply is the readgeneral, and we are going to use this same scope in the following actions. So we are done here with this controller, and we can continue now with the buyer controller. In the buyer controller, we are going to protect only the show method. Now let's continue with the buyer product controller. There we just have the index method, so we are just going to protect the index method. Let's go now with the buyer transaction controller. If you are asking why we are skipping the buyer seller controller, that is because only the admin users will be allowed to access to the sellers for a specific buyer. This kind of information cannot be public after the implementation of the security layer, the final security layer. And this same logic applies for the category controllers and project controllers. We have some of those actions already protected or are going to be specially protected for an admin, or even are publicly accessible using only the client credentials. So let's continue with the seller category controller. In this case, we are going to protect only the index method because it's the only method that we have there. Let's continue now with the seller controller. And there we are going to protect with this scope only the show method. Let's continue with the seller project controller. But this is a special case, so I'm just going to remove this temporarily and we are going to go back to this controller in a few minutes. Let's continue now with the seller transaction controller. There we just need to protect the index method. Now let's go with the transaction controller. There we just need to protect the show method because the index method is a special method that needs a special security. And finally, we just need to go to the transaction seller controller and protect only the index method. So let's go back to the seller product controller. I'm going to close the other tabs and return to the seller product controller. In the seller product controller, we have already the manage product scope, and we are going to use the readgeneral only for the index method. That means that the index method, only the index method, can be allowed by two different scopes, the manage products and the readgeneral. So we have different ways to go, but I want to use a completely different approach to don't use always a middleware. I'm going to show you a different way to validate the scopes that is not using middleware. If you are wondering how to do that with middleware, well, you just need to apply a middleware with the managed products and the readgeneral scope, apply it only for the index method, and then other middleware apply it only with the managed products for the other methods, excepting the index. But I'm going to show you a different way to go. We can validate the scope directly from the access token that the user provided in the request or the client. So let's create a condition, and we are going to access the request using the helper. Let's do access to the user identified in this request through the access token and verify what this access token can do. In this case, we are going to see if this token can use the readgeneral scope or can use the managed product scope. If it is true, so we are going to proceed normally. And in case of not, we are going to throw an exception. It is an authorization exception. Let's import the definition. And we are done now. So let's try to obtain the products of a seller. I'm going to create a new access token using the readgeneral. And let's obtain the products from the seller 1. Let's send the authorization header. It seems like does not exist a seller like this, so let's try something different. So we are having an invalid scopes provided. And this is because we need to accept the index method for the verification of the managed products. So let's do it right now. And let's check again. And here we are. Now, if we try to use, instead of the readgeneral, the managed products, this must work equally. And here we are. Of course, if we try to use an access token without any kind of scope provided, this should fail as expected. But now we are having an empty string here. And this is because in the code, when we are throwing the exception, we are not sending any kind of message. So let's send invalid scopes and try again. And we are done. We have now completely implemented our 4 scopes and protected the way as the clients can perform some specific actions in our RESTful API. See you then.